Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion on amending the agenda to pull that one item and add those other two? None being heard, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Great. We'll call for a motion for approval of the minutes from March 10th and March 17th. Moved by Mr. Mooney. Is there a second?
A second.
Second by Ms. Maskell. Any discussion? None being heard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Great. Presentations on, do we have anything?
I just really want to thank the community this has been a very trying couple of weeks with everything in terms of the, getting students on board, getting students online. Families are now worried about their jobs as well as also teaching. There's a lot of multiple things going on. So I just really want to thank the community. I want to thank the staff for everything they've done to keep us up and running. And I really want to thank all of the students who are learning and reaching out to us. So just not enough thanks for everybody what they've done the last couple of weeks as we're trying to maneuver through this new, I guess.
All right. Public recognition. I'm not sure we have any public. Rocco, you got anything as a public member? All right.
He hung up on me.
Communications to the board.
I have done.
Superintendent's report. I think most people got a chance to see your posting. Do you want to add or?
No, I just want to highlight a couple things. I know I sent everything. If you look at the numbers, we have over 95% participation in our remote learning. I think that's pretty impressive. You look at the elementary schools, we're really doing a great job. I think 95% for the high school is really great, and they're really trying hard to reach out. So I'm really impressed with everything. And there's a lot of teachers that have 100% participation. So I'm feeling really, really good about this 12 or 13 days in. I can't thank the IT department enough. We've given out almost 700 Chromebooks. And as you guys saw, as of Friday, we opened up the hotspot. So Rocco is going to see if he can run a report and see if anybody's utilizing those. And as you can see, we have 237 requests for my learning plan for staff to do professional development on remote. So as you can see, a lot of good things. I'm very happy with the curriculum alignment, how we redid that, the elementary, the K2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We had a meeting with the principals yesterday. They said that's going really well. Dan set out the text blast messenger. So that's hoping we'll see if we can get that up and running. I know there was some glitches. And Thursday, we're going to send a survey out to the community just to get some generic feedback on how we're doing, concerns that parents and students may have. So we're going to do that Thursday. Any questions on anything?
How many Chromebooks?
Almost 700 we've given out.
Nice. We don't have a student rep report. Board member remarks? Go ahead, Dr.
Yes.
You have to unmute, Dr. Haas.
Yeah, I know I sent an email earlier asking about what we were doing sort of around social emotional, not as a standalone thing. But I want to say, because I didn't say it in sort of the message, is that fundamental to that is, taking care of business and having a plan and communicating it and executing it. And I just want to add my thanks because that's happening. And so that's the first thing that's going to sort of help people, feel settled and feel like they can deal with the other crises in their lives. So I just want to really thank you, Kirk, for your leadership and everybody else who's involved in making that happen, because I know what it takes to move a system that large in such significant ways. And I think it's really tremendous. So when I asked that question about sort of what are the other tools that we're giving teachers to make sure that they're able to connect with kids to meet those emotional needs that they both have, I just want to frame it in really my admiration for what has already gone on.
Bob, if I could also add,
Sure.
just wanted to say from BOCES that it was really good to hear that all the schools are working together when it comes to the technology, and to know that we have given out 700 Chromebooks, but also for our students that are at BOCES, they are coordinating and working to ensure that the technology resources for the students that they have are also being met. So we're working together on that, which was great to hear. And then also on a daily basis, we're getting notices, not just about what's happening regarding the virus, but also some good stories of how they're handling situations with some of our students who are at high needs. And to hear that, one student who was having a severe episode ended up, and I can share this because this was shared with the entire school district in their public emails. But it was to know that the student who was having an issue expressed that it was the teacher that was contacting the student on a regular basis, that the student really felt like was listening to them and really hearing them, so that even during this very difficult time, knowing that our teachers are really that central link for our students and that they're being heard. I think that was something I really took away from that presentation, that our teachers are invaluable during this period of time. And just want to express gratitude to our district's resources that are there every single day. And thank you all.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to the teachers in the district. I know every morning I was speaking with Mr. Reinhardt this morning about my son's teacher and all the people that work within the professionals that work within the classroom. They meet every morning at 8 o'clock, the whole class. They have a little chat. It's really nice. My son looks forward to it. And I know the amount of work that goes into it. So, honestly, this is more work than actually being in a classroom, because it's one-on-one instruction. And, I just want to remind people that when you put assignments out, put them out so your students have a couple days to turn them in, because other teachers are also giving them assignments. And I know, like, you have kids that are on the computer for 6 hours a day. And when you have multiple kids in a household, that's a lot of time sitting in front of a screen. And I'm just curious, Ms. Barringer, as far as BOCES goes, I know there are students in my home district that have to be on at specific times, and there's often a conflict with virtual classrooms. Wondering if anything could be done on your end to kind of help remedy that.
Absolutely. I will definitely share that. I know that is something that at our level, both here at our district as well as at the BOCES district, we hear often the need to be flexible and have a lot of compassion at this time, because we are all having to deal with such interesting technology glitches and needs at this time. So I will definitely pass that on.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, my remarks are fairly brief. I wanted to thank Kurt, Dan, Jane behind me, Dr. Westinghouse on the computer screen. I couldn't imagine going through this time with our prior administration. And, I believe things happen for a reason. You guys were appointed to be here. You're doing a great job. I want you to stay safe, healthy, and I can't put into words how appreciative I am of the jobs you guys have been doing. And that's it. Item J is a break, but I think we can go ahead and push through without one if everybody's good with that. Education and curriculum, there's a resolution for an overnight field trip, tentatively to postpone it to June 12th to the 19th. I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Mooney. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Anchak. Any discussion?
I have a question on that.
if it turns out that that time frame is not good, I noticed in the resolution, it's not, we're not tied to that date. It can change and it doesn't have to come back before us. Am I correct on that?
I'm not sure. I think I put in the word tentatively to give them an out when we had the pre-board meeting in case that date didn't work. But I think we probably should approve if we know an actual date that they're going, just to be on the safe side.
So could it be postponed again? Do we know, or we don't know?
Nobody knows at
Nobody
this
knows.
point in time.
This was the one option that
Yeah.
Disney was willing to still give them.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Okay. I mean, I'm definitely for it. I just wanted to make sure that.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess the happiest place on earth is closed, so, it's hard to tell. It might be actually transferred, maybe Saugerties is the happiest place on earth now, who knows? So if there's no further discussion, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. And Dr. Westinghouse, you're on with a curriculum update?
Can you share that?
Sure, I have a PowerPoint, so I'm going to share my screen with you.
Oh, she can do it. Oh,
Okay.
Can you see it?
We can.
yeah.
Okay, great.
Better if she puts in slide view mode.
Yeah.
I'm going to, but there was this little thing here that was in the way. Okay, so a little update on remote learning. This is the agenda of what I'm going to talk about, but it's okay. It's not going to be real long. So, but I think Kirk might have sent this out already. So we'll go pretty quick. I'm happy to say that all the families have been contacted in the district, which was really nice. I mean, every single family was contacted to say, how are you doing? How's it going? What can we do for you? And that was really great. We also created guidelines for the remote learning and what teachers are supposed to do. And we went through that with every teacher. We did all teachers by grade level. So from K right up, and then we did the department chairs. And then Tom did some the high school teachers. We got together with all the RTI teachers, the department chairs, and we wanted feedback from them. How's it going? What tools are you using? What are your problems? How can we help you? And we went through the guidelines. Kirk has a cabinet meeting every day at 10 o'clock. And we also have principal meetings take place once or twice a week. So we are also very, very busy. We're also scheduling the lead teacher meetings, as you saw, the diversity committee meetings. We're just going to keep it going. We're just doing it remotely. Now, yes.
When you say all families, and I think Lisa Kapler's on this meeting, were all the out-of-district students contacted also that are at private placements?
I do not know. Lisa, do you know?
She was there. Is she still
She's
there?
there.
There's just on mute.
She's got to unmute.
Lisa,
If not-
you're on. You can hear that.
I can ask her. Out of district, right? Gage.
Damien looks confused, doesn't he?
You have to unmute your mic, Damien.
I'm good. I'm okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to look confused.
All right, I can get that.
So we asked all the teachers that they would reach out, and I really don't know if the students in private placement were, I just don't know that. Sorry.
Sorry, yes, they were. I just got back
Okay.
on.
Thank you, Lisa.
I knew Lisa would know. That's her area. Okay, so the assessments suspended for this year, the grades 3 through 8 ELA and math, of course you know, and the 4 through 8 science test, NISA, and the June 2020 Regents exams. So they've all been canceled, and NISA has not made a decision about August yet, so that we don't know. They also canceled the laboratory requirement of 1,200 minutes. They're waived as well. So to be exempt from the Regents, you have to be enrolled in a course that ends in a Regents exam, and you have to pass the course. So that's, if you pass the course, you don't have to take the Regents. If a student fails the course, but say passes it in summer school, they still don't have to take the Regents. A student who passed a course ending in a Regents exam previously, but failed the Regents that he intended to take this year, he's exempt from that as well. So if I took geometry last year and I didn't pass the Regents, I'm exempt from it this year. And they also want to make sure that students will be able to progress to the next coursework. So say I take algebra and I can't take the Regents exam, that should not put me in jeopardy of going right to geometry then. We should be able to still keep the progression of the course, even though we didn't take the Regents.
Our graduation rate should be 100% this year?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I said.
When Kirk put out the number of families contacted and students who were engaged, it seemed, I think we were like 55 at the high school that weren't engaged in learning.
Only 52 were not.
We're not. Do we know what's happened with those 52, why they're not?
No, but they're going to keep reaching out. We have Dr. Kapler is meeting with the guidance counselors and Mr. Averill on the plan for all of those students to find out why we're not reaching out, why they're not, why they started the process but aren't doing any work.
Some, and I know for the elementary school too, some parents that are teachers in other districts are saying they can do better. They don't want it to do what we do. Some parents don't want to be bothered at all. They've actually blocked the teachers on their phone. We have the social worker and Travis, our SRO, involved to be reaching out, maybe going to do a home visit, but we're doing everything we can. Principals are reaching out, teachers are reaching out, social workers, psychologists, and now we're going to have the SRO go to someone's house and, stay in the driveway and try to find out what's going on.
Yeah, I assume there's no guidance on what educational neglect would look like in with the virtual learning.
Well, that's a good question because I've been saying that, legally you have to do your work or you're absent from school, and that's not a good thing. We're thinking that at this point, it's just started. It's only been 2 weeks. We want to wait at least 3 weeks, 4 weeks and do as much as we can and give compassion. But if that doesn't work and they still refuse, then we have to get CPS involved. And the teachers and the parents that want to do their own thing, they don't want to do our teachers. I'm giving them to the end of the week, and if they still don't, then I'm calling them and telling them they have to apply for homeschooling. So we're on it.
Blocking, that sounds like they're willfully neglecting their kids' education if they're putting a block on contact with the students.
That's right. That's right. I agree.
Is there a large percentage of them, or is it?
No, not many.
No.
It's a handful, and a couple we're actually tracing where they live. Like there's one family we think may have moved, but they're not gonna be able to register somewhere else. So.
Yes, right. Okay, so we, as a district, will be giving students that should be taking a Regents and won't be, and are exempt from it. We will give them an end of the year assessment that will be created by the teachers, the chair, the departments, or all of the above. So that we're working on right now. The pathways, so if a student is doing the pathways, so a pathway is 4+1. In other words, they have to take at least 4 core courses, and then they can take one other course that gives them a pathway in either math and science or humanities or language. But anyway, some of those pathway courses have state tests associated with them, not just a Regents, and they will be exempt from those as well. So that's, yeah.
Okay, we have a question.
Okay, I can't see you because all I can see is my PowerPoint while it's up.
That's okay. Thank you so much for all of this. This is Katie.
Hi, Katie.
Somebody else has joined us by phone, just to let people know. I'm not sure who it is, but that's great. So I just have a question about the Regents and then the final exam. So is that, so I know that, sometimes students, if they get a 76 on a Regents, they will take it again to get a better grade on the Regents. If they're just getting credit if they pass the course, does that matter? Is there
No, it won't matter. They'll still get their advanced their advanced
Get that
diploma
designation.
or whatever. No, it won't matter at all.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
For special ed and Ls, of course, it's been canceled. And the exams that they do take, the local exam that we're creating, they should get a 65. No score will be put on the students' transcripts for special ed or Ls. Do you have any questions?
I have one. It doesn't have to
Is that
do
Jim?
with- It is. Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see you.
I just had a quick question, and I don't know if the correct person to ask, but I know our newly tenured teachers or hired teachers have to have so many hours of professional development. Is that waived?
No, because you have 5 years to complete 100 hours. And like Kirk said in the beginning, they have 273 courses that they've been signing up for courses like crazy. So they're not going to have any problem with that.
Okay, so the general, I'm not sure if you're having faculty meetings.
We are. I mean, Bob, all the principals are still running grade level meetings, department meetings.
So that'll all count.
That'll count. Plus, if they do the MLP during the day, they don't get in-service, but they still get hours toward their certification. If it's after the day, they can get in-service and also get hours toward their license.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
But on another note, there's been no guidance about the APPR or anybody who would be getting tenure this year who may be required to have X amount of observations. We haven't heard from the
The only
state.
thing I've heard on that is that districts have the choice to waive it or.
Okay.
And there's also no guidance, I would assume, on the teacher with a tip if they can't complete their tip because of
Yeah.
circumstances.
They've given us nothing on the APPR or anything like that yet.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Patty, you had questions on special ed. Lisa might be able to answer those in your email.
I think.
Yeah. Hold on.
I can't.
Or you can send them to her if you can't find them.
No, I can't. I just know, am I muted? I can't find my window.
Oh, don't worry about it. We'll address those questions by email.
Well, wait, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, great. So I just don't know. I can't find my window, but I'll find my window. So no, I was just checking in generally about, I mean, I cannot imagine what it's like for a family with 1, 2, or even just one, child with special needs who is really compromised and how they're doing. And so I just didn't know what that has been like, and what, how we're doing there, how everybody,
Do you want me to answer?
If you have an answer, yeah, or something.
No, I know that a lot of the teachers are really focusing on social emotional right now with a lot of the students, because they're, especially the students that had emotional disabilities, were really having meltdowns trying, if something wasn't working on the computer or so. I know that there's been a lot of that, even though they might not have had certain things on their IEPs, they've just been doing extra. And also the social workers and the psychologists have really stepped it up, and they're calling them all the time. They also talk to the parents because the parents are going through it too.
Well, those are the ones I'm really concerned about, actually. I mean, the kids I'm concerned about. I just cannot imagine. I mean, having worked in special ed for years, school was a respite for many parents and helped them cope with the rest of their lives. And so I'm just sort of checking in on what
They need to turn.
I mean, I can tell you personally that I've had probably about 10 phone calls from parents myself that I've just known through the years and just talking things out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to happen, and it's happening. So I think parents have been really receptive towards it.
It's just really hard, and there are no respite services.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Right.
Well, thank you. I just wanted to check in.
Make sure if you're not speaking, you mute yourself, though. Thank you.
Is
Bob,
that it, Dr. Westinghouse?
Okay. I muted myself. I answered you, sorry. Yes, that's it, Bob.
Okay, I was trying to read your lips, but I couldn't quite get it.
Bob,
Sorry.
before we go
That
on in the
Chinese
agenda,
meeting.
Bob, can I just, on a
All
point
right,
of,
I will
Bob?
entertain a motion for L1 to be moved to executive session for discussion.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Van Schack. Is that a second, Dr. Haas?
No,
Oh,
Krista had something.
Just-
okay.
Bob, before we go on in the agenda, just a point of order. Now, I'm seeing on the website that the link to this meeting is a Zoom meeting, but we're in Google Hangouts.
Right.
So,
You're fading.
sorry, so the Zoom meeting that's on the website for this meeting for the public to join us is a Zoom meeting, but we're in
So if I
Google.
could just,
Yep.
yes, so we did that for, so right now we're using the Hangout. We are feeding that into the Zoom because with the Google Hangout, we can't mute people and we didn't want to have too much interference from outside. With the Zoom, we have control over it. So we're using the Google here and it's feeding into the Zoom meeting.
The Zoom also has
Okay.
closed caption.
And the Zoom has closed captioning as well.
And how many people do we have in Zoom?
Right.
How many people are logged on?
I can contact Rocco and find out. I don't have access to that at the moment.
I know Joanne Longendike said it's working.
Okay, that's great.
Why didn't
Good
we just all
strategy.
do a Zoom meeting?
Okay, getting back to the agenda, item L1, there was a motion, it was moved. I need a second.
I seconded. Gage.
Second by Mr. Mooney. Any discussion? None being heard, I'll call for a vote to move that item into executive session for discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to approve item L2, L3, A, B, and C.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Mooney. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Gage. Any discussion? None being heard, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Item N, personnel. I'll entertain a motion for items M1, 2, 3, and 3A.
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Mooney. Is there a second? Second by Dr. Haas. Any discussion? None being heard, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Item N, business office recommendations, accepting the treasury report, item 1, and claims order report, item 2. I'll call for a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Mooney, second by Mr. Van Schack. Any discussion? None being heard, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Make a motion to amend the agenda. I would like to add items O17 and O18 as presented to the board members.
Second.
Didn't we do that at the beginning?
We did that at the
Did we
beginning.
do it?
We did.
Okay. Then we won't mention nothing.
But you could make a motion to omit item O10, I believe that's being.
Yep.
We did that too.
We did that?
Yeah,
That's
all
right, we did.
that.
It's all combined.
Yeah, we did that at the beginning.
All right, so I will then call for a motion to approve items O1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Gage. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ferraro from left field.
I just found my mute button again.
Bob,
Bring it
just to clarify, 11 is discussion. It's not a resolution.
Okay. All right, well, can we If we vote on that, everything is a block, and then we'll go to item 11 for discussion. Krista, would that be all right?
Yes.
All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Wait, can we,
Aye.
Hang on.
Elena, you had a question?
yeah, I did. What are we doing with the safety plan? I put a question in earlier about how we're supposed to have a,
You just froze. If you could repeat your question?
I put a question in about how safety plans are supposed to come up for a public hearing and then be posted for 30 days. Like, have we done any of that?
We had a public meeting on March 12th. I mean, if we want to post a pandemic for 30 days and then add it permanently in May, I'm fine with that.
So we did have the public hearing.
Did you hear that, Ms. Pascal?
I can hear you. I don't know if you can hear me. The reception.
No, we heard you. Did you hear Kirk's response to your question?
Yeah, he said there was a meeting, but I'm asking for a public hearing. It's a different thing.
Okay, if you want, we can post it for 30 days.
Okay, yeah, because the public we're supposed to have a public hearing and they're supposed to have time to respond to it.
So.
I mean, you know, you can do whatever you want. It's just a procedural thing.
Okay, I'd rather have it up and people see it than.
Mhm.
All right, any other discussion on this? None being heard, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item 011, the BOCES election of officers. Krista, did you want to chime in on that?
No, actually, I noticed that it was a discussion item. I didn't know if somebody wanted to discuss it. I just saw it as a discussion item.
I'll add a discussion. The BOCES budget. It's in stone. I know
Point of order. This is a discussion item on the election of the officers for the Ulster County School Boards Association.
So then I guess it's a moot point, being that we already voted for
The budget.
13, correct?
12. Yeah, we did.
For 12.
Yeah,
Right.
I just wasn't sure why we had a discussion item. I didn't know if somebody else wanted to discuss the election of officers.
My guess is that was a placeholder in case somebody wanted to nominate somebody else, but I think from the feedback from the board, nobody had any objection to any of the officers that were listed for election. And then, there was in the backup materials, there was the discussion of what the Ulster County School Board officers were being put forth, so we all got a chance to see that, right? I don't believe you guys got any questions about that.
Correct.
All right. So are we good?
Yes.
Jim, you're good?
Yes, so
When's back to the floor?
nope. Leave it.
When is Jane go? When does Jane present the budget thing?
She could do that now.
No.
Jane has a budget update for us.
Can you share that, Dan?
So the first part of this, just reviews the, do you want me to get closer?
Yeah, the microphone's right here.
It's just a review of the tax cap calculation, and that hasn't changed since the last time I did this presentation. Can you all hear me okay now?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
So if you want to skip through the first couple pages there.
Okay.
Okay, so the calculation remains the same and gives us a maximum allowable levy limit of $40,639,592. And that is an increase of 2.2% or $876,274. Okay, next page. So we have an update on our state aid projections. So we received the new state aid runs on March 31st, April 1st. And there were some changes from the governor's proposal. Some of the changes were eliminating, or the governor had thrown a bunch of the expense-based aids into one foundation aid category. So it got split all back out again. And I'll show that on the next page. But basically the overall was there was no increase in foundation aid. And actually for us, we did have a slight decrease. And there was also no community schools aid in this round as compared to the governor's run in January. And the one thing I want to note is the governor has said that we can anticipate future reductions throughout the year. There's going to be 3 different periods of time. They're going to look at the state revenues to see if they're coming in according to their projections. So the first period end date is April 30th. Then after that, the period is May 1st to June 30th. And then after that, July 1st through December 31st. And I believe the governor is going to possibly make reductions in our revenue at at the end of those periods. And the legislature has 10 days to respond to that with any changes. And if they don't respond, then those changes go forward. So kind of in anticipation of that, we've reduced our estimated state aid a little bit down from that. Next one. So this is a breakdown. So I changed this up a little since the last time. So I have the 2019-20 revenue. That's what was budgeted for the current year. And then the next column is 2021, and that is the state aid from the budget that was just passed. And then I have my proposed adjustments column. And then the variance is just the difference between my proposed adjustments for 2021 and the current year 2019-20 revenue. So a few of the adjustments I've made that are different from the legislative budget, as you go down, I did make changes to the transportation aid as well as the private excess cost aid and high cost aid categories. And the other categories seem to be close to accurate, so I left those. Building aid, the state budget had it overestimated, so I reduced that a bit. And then there was two adjustments in the legislative budget. One was the pandemic adjustment for $518,028, and it was equal to the federal CARES restoration money. So I believe what happened is the federal government passed the CARES Act, which gave the states money, and the state distributed that. At the same time, they reduced the foundation aid that they were giving districts. So in the end, the net effect is 0 after that. But we anticipate further reductions in the year, and I prefer to be conservative rather than find out the bad news in the middle of the year. So we are recommending to reduce the estimated state aid by another $518,028. So the difference overall between last year's proposed revenue and this year's proposed is a negative $408,000. So as you can see, some of the categories increased, some of them decreased, and then we added the additional decrease of 518. So I'm hoping that, well, we'll get some sort of a number after April 30th, and maybe we can make adjustments to that, either up or down, based on what the governor comes out with April 30th and what the legislature does with that. So, and since the budget vote is pushed off until June, the board doesn't have to make their decision right away on approving the budget. So we do have time to wait for like April 30th to happen before you have to make a final decision on what the budget's going to be. And another thing I'd like to note is that I did reduce transportation aid a little bit, but we are still waiting for state guidance on whether they are going to give us transportation aid on any payments that we make to our contractors while they're not transporting kids. So the federal guidance that we received says that we should pay all of our contractors as well as all our employees, but SED hasn't told us yes or no whether we would get the aid on that money that we're going to pay our bus contractors. So that could be reduced even more, but I don't have an answer for that yet. They do know that the schools are asking. They just haven't said either way. Okay,
That April 30th day is firm for right now.
I believe that's what was written into the budget.
Just then we're not gonna, if Cuomo does his look back in May, we're potentially caught between a rock and a hard place.
Well, the look back periods are to April 30th and
Okay.
the next one's not until June 30th. So then it's too late. So I think we go low and hope for more. Okay, so this just puts the revenue side of the budget together. So the adjustments I made to state aid, the property tax levy was the same as the last presentation, and so are our other sources. Because I had previously adjusted interest income based on the stock market. So I had already reduced that in the previous presentation. So the total revenue right there is almost 64.7 million. Next. Okay, we took a look at some of the expenditure projections and did a little work on this. So the new updated amount is 66.6 million in projections. So that's an increase over the current year budget of 1.3 million or just over 2%. So this total has been reduced $540,000 from the last presentation. We went through and updated some out of district and BOCES placements, as well as some additional BOCES services, some other out of district tuitions, and reduced selected positions, some through attrition. So, and I have the breakdown. So the changes were made across almost every one of these different departments. The only ones that remain the same are technology, sports and extracurricular, and transfer to other funds. Those were three areas that we really couldn't make any adjustments to. The other categories, we did make slight adjustments to, and the benefits, I actually had to increase that a little bit because the insurance rates came back at 4.8, not 4, as was previously mentioned. So next, and let's just look at the total BOCES budget. So we're up over the current year's adopted budget of 5.4. But I do want to point out that this year's current budget is actually above that amount. It's closer to 5.6 overall, because some of the different student placements and additional things we needed. So the overall increase in the BOCES budget is $358,000. And there's a few new programs that BOCES has added, and that's where some of our additional costs came in for this year. Therefore, some of our students for temporary therapeutic program, and next year BOCES is adding a long-term therapeutic program that we believe some of our students could benefit from. So we've estimated the cost for that in there, and it also includes about $175,000 of computer replacements. So that's like half the increase right there is the computer replacements. And we're also taking into account that we might not get all of our computers back that we've given out. So we're taking a look at what we can possibly purchase from some of our grant funds that we might have left over from this year. Next, so putting the two together, the revenues and the expenses, the deficit is now 1.945. So the deficit has increased 227,000 from the last presentation, but our revenues are down 768, and we've also been able to reduce the expense side by 541,000. Next. So I've updated the slide just in two places. The unassigned fund balance at the bottom there in the middle column, I've just updated it to equal 4% of the new budget total. And I'm now estimating the unappropriated fund balance available to be around 2 million, depending. It could be a little bit more than that. If I knew that the students weren't coming back for the rest of the year, then I could give you a really good number. But nobody knows that yet. So I'm just saying about 2 million right now. So next. So here's some recommendations we put together to close the budget gap. So if the total deficit is at 1.9 million, we can appropriate up to 50,000 from the unemployment reserve. So since our substitutes are out of work, they have been filing for unemployment. So I increased the budget for next year. I originally had it at, I think, 15,000, but I bumped it up to 50. So we're allowed to appropriate the amount equal to what we put in as an expense. So that's 50,000, and we have about 75,000 in that fund right now. So we have it available. In the ERS reserve, that's another one of our funds that we have money in. So we have almost 700,000 in there. So I put 295,000 in there that leaves some left over, but still help with the deficit. And then the rest would come from unappropriated fund balance. 1.6 million is my recommendation to come up with that total. If we wait until after April 30th to see if there's more possible revenue reductions than we've assumed in this, then we can update the appropriation of these reserves and fund balance, as well as take a look at a few more possible areas to reduce on the expense side. Does anybody, what's my other one? That we still don't know when the budget vote is taking place. And I have heard that one of the, I guess, ideas, I don't know, is absentee ballots? I don't know if you've heard that, Sherry. But I haven't included, like, there's going to be extra costs associated with that. So that's another thing I just need for my fund balance projection, to what format we're going to be using would be helpful. So that's another one of those nobody knows the answer yet questions.
A lot of questions.
Yes.
Going to be involved with that.
Yeah.
Can we see if anybody's got questions on there?
Stop sharing.
Any of you guys have questions out there in virtual land?
No question.
I just want to thank you for a really clear presentation. I have to say, I think this is the first budget where I've been able to actually thread the needle and feel like I understand it in a way that is not complete, but is pretty coherent. So really, thank you so much. I don't know why it's hard, but it's hard, and it's and it makes some sense to me. So that's important.
Good.
Somebody's missing.
I don't have any questions on the presentation. I just have a question for my own knowledge as far as what happens to, our existing contracts that we're dealing. For example, transportation. Are we still responsible for paying transportation costs now that school is not in session, or do we pay it as we use it, or how does that work?
We've sent our copies of our contracts to our attorney, and they're reviewing them right now. So the language does vary in a few of them, but I haven't gotten an answer back from the attorneys. I think they're also waiting for guidance from SED as to what to do.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
I'll ask my question now. I know we've already discussed this, but I publicly want to ask it. I don't need you to answer it. I just want to put it out there. I know we had a vote on the BOCES budget. I didn't want to rescind the motion, being that everything else was tied in with it. and then have to pull that and re-vote on everything. If our budget doesn't pass, are we obligated to pay BOCES what we agreed to on the budget? Or can we take care of our own needs first before we send them any money?
So our budget will be passed at some point. So if it does not pass the first time, you get the opportunity to put the same budget back up or put up a different budget.
Austerity, sure.
Right. Or just go with the contingency right out of the gate. That's up to.
I guess what I'm asking.
Different choices.
Everybody else, you and your office have reworked this budget a ridiculous amount of times this year with everything that's come to pass. And if we just voted on BOCES and you're still going to be reworking your budget because the governor can continue to look back quarterly and say, well, you're not using the money, so I'm not going to give you as much money.
So with our obligation to BOCES, we don't have to submit to them our final request for services. It's always due May 1st, which is usually after the board approves the budget. So that's kind of a little, yeah.
No, we only approve the administrative part of the budget.
Right,
We didn't
in here,
approve the whole- so we can
you
cut
only
back
approve
on
the
those
administrative
services.
part. And then again, in June, you get another opportunity to approve the final one for the summer.
Okay,
That starts from the summer.
I just
So you
wanna
get a couple
make sure we're tying our
opportunities to
hands.
change things.
Okay, so we're not tying our hands with that.
That is the BOCES administrative budget. So we're obligated to pay a piece of that, which is $833,000 something dollars.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
okay. Anybody else?
Nicely done. Audit committee, so that's either Helena or Jane, do you have any recommendations or anything to report out right now?
That we were supposed to begin our internal audit at the end of the month. So we're trying to figure out how we can possibly gather the files and do that remotely. So working on that.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Mooney's visitation facilities?
We have a meeting tomorrow, 4:00. It's a call meeting. Obviously discussing everything that's going on now. And we're also going to be talking about projects that have already been happening, including the Riccardi roof, the EPC, capital outlay, capital projects, and if there's any other concerns that people bring to us.
Dr. Haas, did you have a policy committee meeting today?
No, we did not. I think there are two policies that, one we're waiting back. Our attorneys have recommended that we wait for further guidance from NICEAD. 5676, what is that, Kurt?
We're waiting back from the state on the privacy one. Our lawyers have looked at it, but they're waiting further for SED. And then every year you're supposed to revisit your attendance policy, but you have to have a committee made up of all stakeholders, which we still haven't figured out how we're gonna make that happen.
Okay. We should try to make it happen though.
Yep.
That's, because we could certainly do it remotely.
I just got,
So we have another meeting in May. So with that meeting will probably happen. We just didn't feel that it was necessary to meet today.
Okay.
yeah, I just got a quick thing about the facility and construction. The state ed has basically let out some guidelines that construction should still go on during this pandemic issue, but it's up to the school district to how distance the workers and stuff like that.
Okay.
If Como decides that he's gonna shut down the schools for the rest of the academic year, are we still gonna go forward or even bring some of that work in to do the Riccardi early?
We asked them last time, that's exactly what they said. They said that they would have to wait in here, because that's what we said, is there a way that, this way we're not pushing the roof right up till August again?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
But is it something that we as a district would accept to have, to go forward with construction projects? Because there's some caveats in there, if you read the on-board thing and what SED said about it. like, it's almost like you take your chance and roll
Well,
the dice.
I'm thinking that the roof project is something it's leaking and
Right.
it's asbestos that needs to be abated.
Right.
And it should have been done years ago. So I would prefer that we figure out how to go forward with
Okay.
that. So, and if we do hear that, school is closed for the rest of the year, we would like to get some.
Yeah, because
as
when I
early
read
as
the
possible.
on-board thing about the SED going ahead and prove it, they were saying, yeah, go ahead, but they all went, almost like they were backtracking a little bit by saying, well, you might get into trouble for
They
going
can
through
do
a
the
project.
asbestos abatement, they're all wearing
You know,
those
they're like,
hazmat
yeah, I
suits,
know,
right?
but for any other work, like they're like regular contractors taking roof material off or something like that.
I read the same article and I think if I remember it, it was, if it was essential to the safety and
Right.
security of people in the facility that the work could continue would be considered essential.
Okay.
Don't.
I know, but it's just the last part of that statement was a little bit like they were kind of backing off about having people do.
Nobody wants to commit to anything.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Community relations, I believe we're on hold until we can get the school climate survey done, and only God knows what that's going to look like when it's going to be done, because right now we're down in session, so I think that's it as far as committee reports. Other matters, there was a request from Ms. Mascal to look at the times for changing the time, making it earlier for the board meetings. I saw some discussion on the emails about that. I guess the concern I have would be, can all the board members make an earlier time? And if we make it earlier to 4 o'clock, are we eliminating the public's input to that meeting? You know, we don't know that everybody's home. And we used to meet later. We met at 7, we moved it to 6:30. You know, I could see moving it to maybe 6, but I wouldn't want to eliminate board members from attending the meeting if they have work obligations, and I don't think we surveyed every board member. And I wouldn't want to eliminate public participation if somebody wanted to be part of the meeting, but they couldn't make it because they're working till 5 o'clock, let's say, or have, input or comment to the board. But I'll entertain, the will of the board on this.
I think the emails went sort of back and forth. Krista, you wouldn't be able to make it until 5:30. I think trying to find a time when the public's going to be able to join is, we have to just find a time and then meet. And I mean, not be unreasonable, but everybody's schedule is, nobody's working 9 to 5, or few people are, right? I mean, so I think that, and we're recording these, yeah?
Yes.
Right. So I don't know. I mean, I think there was also related to this, there was the suggestion that we start our meetings with executive session. So I don't know if that sort of plays into this discussion as well.
Well, to move things along, if I would request if every board member wants to look at what's the earliest they can attend the meeting, and then we could go from there. I think I saw Mike couldn't make it till 5:30. I don't know that we heard from every board member, but why don't we use that as a starting point? We can make that discussion as far as emails, and then we could always amend the time of the following board meeting if we get that far. Mm-hmm. Is everybody good with that?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah,
Public
that'd be fine.
recognition, we don't have anybody, can people zoom in for public recognition or not?
No, there's no public comment today.
Okay.
There are 11 people viewing in the
Oh,
public.
that's great.
Hi, public. So glad you're here with us. Thank you for joining us.
Okay. And then as a question about the technology, if we vote to go into executive session, then the Zoom gets timed out?
Yeah, this will stop. We will actually stop this hangout and start a brand new hangout.
And we'll go, when we come out of executive session, we'd open up that Zoom again?
Yes, we can.
Yep, and we'll have to do this.
Okay. So I will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Van Schack. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Ferraro. Any discussion? None being heard. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 We will be coming out to, I believe, vote on one item at least.
All right, we have to log him off and log me on, right?
Yes. All right, so I'm gonna turn this off for now.
Okay. Guys, you have to log back in on the other invite.
Okay.
So, can you hear me, Sue?
Yes, Darlene.
What other invite? I only got one.
There should have been an invite to executive session. You don't come into executive session though, do you?
No, so so I use the same invitation to come back later for the vote, or am I done?
If you want to come back, if we come back to do that vote, yes, you would use the same invitation.
Okay,
All right.
all right.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.